Welcome to your personalized deep dive into Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
We're tackling your stack of articles and research,
Yeah.
all aiming to equip you with the knowledge to navigate this exciting world.
Right.
It can feel like the Wild West out there with so much to learn,
Yeah,
and our mission is to distill it all down to the essential nuggets for you.
definitely. I like that analogy of the Wild West that one of your sources uses.
Yeah.
It really captures the sense of personal responsibility, in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah,
You're essentially your own bank,
right.
which can be empowering,
Yeah,
but it also demands, a solid understanding of how things work.
for sure. So, okay, before we saddle up and ride into this digital frontier,
Okay.
let's answer the fundamental question. What exactly is Bitcoin?
Right.
One source calls it magic internet money,
Uh-huh.
which is a pretty catchy phrase.
But it is catchy.
What's the reality behind the metaphor?
Yeah, it's a good starting point, I think.
Okay.
Essentially, Bitcoin is digital currency.
Yeah.
But what sets it apart is that it operates on a decentralized network.
Free from the control of banks or governments.
Uh,
So think of it like sending an email,
okay.
but instead of a message, you're sending value directly to another person.
Oh, so no need to rely on those traditional financial middlemen.
Nope.
That's a pretty radical departure from how we're used to thinking about money.
It is. It really is. And that's what's so fascinating about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It challenges the status quo and presents a whole new way of transacting value.
Yeah.
Now, if you're ready to, dip your toes into this world,
Yeah.
the first step is figuring out where to buy Bitcoin.
Okay.
Your research highlights the importance of security
Right.
and choosing a trustworthy platform.
For sure.
There are tons of options out there, but not all are created equal.
Right. I definitely don't want to lose my magic internet money
Right?
to some sketchy operation. It's my hard-earned cash on the line.
Of course.
So what should I be looking for in a platform?
Well-established exchanges like Coinbase,
Okay.
Binance, and Kraken are mentioned in your sources.
But keep in mind, this is just a starting point.
Okay.
The key is to do your own research and choose a platform that aligns with your comfort level.
So I found a platform, and I'm ready to take the plunge.
Okay.
How much Bitcoin should I buy?
That's the question, isn't it?
I'm definitely feeling that Wild West excitement,
Yeah,
but also a bit of caution.
I understand. One source uses a great analogy.
Right.
Think of it like dipping your toe in the water,
Okay.
not diving headfirst.
Got it.
Start small, especially when you're just getting started.
Yeah,
It's wise to avoid going all in right away, especially with Bitcoin's volatile nature.
that's a good point. I'd rather test the waters before jumping into the deep end.
Yeah.
So let's say I want to buy a small amount of Bitcoin.
Okay.
What are my options? It seems like there are a few different paths I could take.
Yeah. Your research points to three main avenues:
Okay.
cryptocurrency exchanges,
Okay.
Bitcoin ATMs, and peer-to-peer platforms.
Okay.
Each has its own advantages and drawbacks to consider.
Cryptocurrency exchanges sound familiar.
Yeah.
Are those the platforms we were just talking about?
Exactly. Platforms like Coinbase, Binance, and Kraken.
Okay.
They're all cryptocurrency exchanges. They've become increasingly user-friendly, making the process of buying and selling Bitcoin relatively straightforward.
So it's kind of like online shopping, but for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I create an account,
Right.
link my bank account, and then I can buy Bitcoin at the current market price.
That's the basic idea. But remember, security is paramount.
Okay.
Always double-check the website address.
Mm-hmm.
Look for security features like two-factor authentication.
Okay.
And be wary of phishing scams.
Good reminder. I'll definitely be extra cautious. Now, what about Bitcoin ATMs?
Bitcoin ATMs.
Are those literally ATMs that dispense Bitcoin?
You got it. They offer a more immediate way to buy Bitcoin with cash.
Okay.
Find an ATM, insert your cash, and receive Bitcoin directly to your digital wallet.
Wow.
The convenience is appealing, but it often comes with higher fees compared to exchanges.
Interesting. So it's a trade-off between convenience and cost.
Right.
Now, last but not least, what are these peer-to-peer platforms all about?
Okay.
They sound a bit more mysterious.
Think of them like digital classified ads for Bitcoin.
Okay.
Platforms like Local Bitcoins connect you directly with other individuals who want to buy or sell Bitcoin.
Interesting.
You can often find better prices than on exchanges.
Okay.
And there's a degree of privacy since you're not necessarily dealing with a centralized company.
Gotcha.
But it's buyer beware. There's a higher risk of spams on these platforms.
So more control and potentially better prices,
Yeah.
but also more risk.
Yeah,
It seems like there's a bit of a theme emerging here, weighing the pros and cons of each option.
exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's all about finding the method that best suits your needs and risk tolerance.
Okay, let's say I've taken the plunge and bought some Bitcoin.
Okay.
Where does it actually go? Does
Yeah.
it just show up in my email inbox like a digital gift card?
Yeah. Not quite. You need a Bitcoin wallet to store, send, and receive Bitcoin.
Okay.
Think of it like a digital vault or a secure pocket where you keep your Bitcoin safe.
A digital vault? That sounds serious.
Yeah.
So how do I get one of these wallets? Is it as simple as downloading an app?
There are tons of options out there.
Right.
But the first decision is choosing between
Okay.
a custodial and non-custodial wallet.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but those terms are a bit jargony for me. What's the difference between the two?
Think of a custodial wallet like using a valet service for your Bitcoin.
Okay.
A third party, like an exchange, manages your keys, which are basically like passwords that give you access to your Bitcoin.
Right.
It's convenient, but you're trusting them with the security of your funds.
So it's like keeping my money in a bank.
Right.
They're holding it for me, and I trust them to keep it safe.
Yeah.
What about these non-custodial wallets?
Non-custodial wallets put you in the driver's seat.
Okay.
You hold your own keys, giving you full control over your Bitcoin. But with that control comes responsibility.
Right.
If you lose your keys, you lose access to your Bitcoin forever.
Yikes. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It sounds like the great power, great responsibility quote applies here.
Absolutely. You're essentially becoming your own bank, which can be both empowering and daunting.
For sure.
But before we get into the details of wallets and keys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore the different types of wallets and how to keep your Bitcoin safe and secure. Stay tuned.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome back. We're in the midst of exploring Bitcoin wallets.
Right.
Before the break, we were talking about custodial versus non-custodial wallets. I'm starting to see why the Wild West analogy comes up so often with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a constant balancing act between convenience and control.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
With custodial wallets, you're essentially entrusting your Bitcoin to a third party, much like you would with a traditional bank.
Right.
It's convenient, especially for beginners, but you're relying on their security measures. Non-custodial wallets, on the other hand, give you complete control.
Right.
But they also come with the responsibility of safeguarding your own keys.
Okay, so let's talk about those keys for a minute.
Yep.
You mentioned there are two types,
Right.
public and private.
Yeah.
What's the difference and why are they so important?
Think of your public key as your Bitcoin address.
Okay.
It's what you share with others when you want to receive Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your email address
Right.
for Bitcoin transactions.
Got it.
Your private key, however, is like the key to your digital vault.
Uh-huh.
It's what allows you to access and spend your Bitcoin.
So the public key is for receiving and the private key is for spending.
Exactly.
It's a bit like having a separate mailbox for incoming mail and a key to your house for accessing your belongings.
That's a great analogy.
And just like you wouldn't share your house key with strangers,
Right.
you should never share your private key with anyone.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Hey.
Keep your private key super secret. Makes sense.
Super secret.
But what happens if I lose my private key? Is there some kind of forgot password option in the Bitcoin world?
Unfortunately, no. That's the risk that comes with the freedom and control of non-custodial wallets. If you lose your private key, your Bitcoin is gone forever.
Oh, no.
It's like losing the combination to a safe.
Right.
There's no way to retrieve what's inside.
Okay, I'm definitely starting to understand the gravity of this great power, great responsibility thing.
Yeah.
So how do I keep my private key safe? Do I write it down and hide it under my mattress?
Well, there are more secure methods than that.
Okay, good.
Your research mentions several storage options, each with its own level of security.
Okay.
Hardware wallets, for example, are physical devices
Okay.
that store your private keys offline.
Offline, so they're not connected to the internet.
Exactly.
Right.
That makes them much less vulnerable to hacking.
Makes sense.
Think of it like a mini vault for your Bitcoin.
That sounds pretty secure. What other options are there?
Software wallets are another popular choice. These are apps that you install on your phone or computer.
Right.
They're more convenient for everyday transactions.
Yeah.
But generally considered less secure than hardware wallets since they're connected to the internet.
So it's a trade-off between convenience and security.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about finding the right balance for your needs.
Right.
And then there's the old school method, paper wallets.
Paper wallets, like literally writing down my key on a piece of paper.
That's the basic idea.
Wow.
You print your public and private keys on a piece of paper and store it in a safe place.
Okay.
It's surprisingly secure since it's completely offline,
Yeah.
but you need to be extremely careful not to lose or damage the paper.
Okay, so lots of options to consider.
Hmm.
It seems like the most important takeaway is to choose a storage method
Right.
that aligns with my comfort level and security priorities.
Exactly. It's your money, your responsibility.
Right.
Now, remember those exchanges we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
They often offer custodial wallets, but storing your Bitcoin on an exchange long-term comes with its own set of risks.
Really? I thought exchanges were supposed to be secure. What's the downside?
While exchanges have implemented security measures, they're still prime targets for hackers.
Right.
There have been instances where exchanges have been compromised,
Yeah, I've heard about that.
leading to the loss of user funds.
So it's like I'm trusting them to be the guardians of my Bitcoin, but there's no guarantee they'll be able to keep it safe.
That's right. Plus, when you store your Bitcoin on an exchange, you're essentially giving them control over your funds.
Uh-huh.
They can impose restrictions on withdrawals, freeze accounts, or even shut down entirely.
It's starting to sound like those old Western movies where the outlaws ride into town and rob the bank.
It's a good analogy.
Ha.
That's why many experienced Bitcoin users advocate for self-custody,
Okay.
meaning you control your own keys
Right.
and are responsible for the security of your own Bitcoin.
So it's like taking my Bitcoin off the dusty trail and stashing it in my own personal safe.
Exactly. It gives you greater peace of mind knowing that your Bitcoin is under your control
Right.
and less vulnerable to external factors like exchange hacks or regulatory changes.
Like self-custody it is. Now let's say I've got my Bitcoin safely tucked away in my digital wallet. What can I actually do with it? Can I just use it to buy things like I would with regular money?
That's the exciting part. Bitcoin's potential goes far beyond simply holding it as an investment. You can use it for a surprisingly wide range of things, both online and in the real world.
Like what? Give me some examples. Can I buy my groceries with Bitcoin?
You might be able to.
Really?
The number of merchants accepting Bitcoin is steadily growing.
Wow.
Websites and apps like CoinMap
Okay.
can help you find Bitcoin-friendly businesses in your area.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I could potentially buy anything from a cup of coffee to a new laptop with Bitcoin.
It's becoming more and more possible.
Right.
And one of the most compelling use cases is sending money to friends and family anywhere in the world.
Oh, wow.
Bitcoin transactions can be significantly cheaper than traditional remittance services.
Right.
Especially for cross-border payments.
So it's like a global payment network that bypasses all those traditional banking fees.
That's a great way to put it. It's fast, efficient, and borderless.
Okay, let's say I want to send some Bitcoin to a friend in another country.
Yeah.
How does that actually work? Do I just need their email address?
You'll need their public key, remember?
Right.
That's their Bitcoin address. You'll enter it into your wallet,
Okay.
specify the amount of Bitcoin you want to send, and then initiate the transaction.
And then it just shows up in their wallet like magic.
It's not magic, but it does happen quickly.
Okay.
The transaction is broadcast to the Bitcoin network where miners verify and add it to the blockchain.
Miners? Blockchain. Okay, those terms keep popping up, and I have to admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on what they actually mean.
Good point. These are key concepts to understand.
Yep.
Think of miners as the record keepers of the Bitcoin network.
Okay.
They're specialized computers that solve complex mathematical problems. Right.
To verify and add transactions to the blockchain.
So they're like the accountants of the Bitcoin world, making sure everything is balanced and recorded properly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the blockchain is the ledger where all these transactions are recorded.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a giant public spreadsheet that everyone can see but no one can change.
A public spreadsheet that can't be changed. That sounds incredibly secure.
It is. That's one of the key innovations of Bitcoin.
Wow.
The blockchain ensures transparency and prevents tampering, making it a very trustworthy system.
Okay, I'm starting to get the big picture here. Miners verify transactions, and those transactions are recorded on the blockchain, which is like a permanent, tamper-proof ledger. It's starting to make sense.
You're getting it.
Okay, cool.
Now let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and talk about the elephant in the room, volatility. We've touched on it briefly,
Right.
but it's an important concept to grasp, especially if you're considering using Bitcoin for transactions. Volatility, you mean the price swings? Yeah, that's definitely something I'm a bit apprehensive about. One day Bitcoin is up, the next day it's down. It feels a bit like a roller coaster ride.
That's a common concern. Bitcoin's price can fluctuate significantly in short periods.
Yeah.
And it can be nerve-wracking, especially for newcomers. But it's important to remember that volatility is inherent to the crypto market.
So how do I deal with that? Any tips for someone who's new to this world?
A key strategy is to stay informed and not panic if you see sudden price drops.
Okay.
They're often followed by equally sudden price increases.
Right.
Think of it as a long-term game,
Okay.
not a get-rich-quick scheme.
So ride the waves and try not to get too caught up in the day-to-day ups and downs.
Exactly. Another helpful tip is to diversify your portfolio.
Okay.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Okay.
Invest in a variety of assets to balance out the risk.
Diversification, got it. Any other strategies for managing volatility?
Dollar cost averaging is a popular approach.
Okay.
Instead of investing a lump sum all at once,
Right.
you invest smaller amounts regularly over time.
Okay.
This helps to average out your purchase price
Mm-hmm.
and reduce the impact of volatility.
So it's like spreading out my risk over time. That makes sense.
Precisely. It's a particularly effective strategy for long-term investors
Right.
who are less concerned with short-term price fluctuations.
All right. Dollar cost averaging diversification. I'm writing all this down. Any other words of wisdom before we wrap up this section?
One final but crucial piece of advice: never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Okay.
Cryptocurrencies are still a relatively new asset class.
Yeah.
And there's always a risk of losing some or all of your investment.
Okay. That's a good reminder to stay grounded. Don't gamble with your rent money.
Exactly. It's all about responsible investing.
Okay.
Do your research, understand the risks, and invest wisely.
Responsible investing check. We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the basics of Bitcoin to buying, storing, and even using it for transactions.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we should cover before we wrap up this deep dive?
We've touched on the practical aspects of Bitcoin, but your research also delves into the broader implications of this technology.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of potential beyond just buying and selling Bitcoin.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What are some of these broader implications?
Well, Bitcoin and the underlying blockchain technology
Right.
have the potential to disrupt traditional financial systems in profound ways.
Disrupt. In a good way, I hope.
That depends on your perspective. Some see Bitcoin as a threat to the established order,
Oh.
while others view it as a catalyst for innovation and greater financial inclusion. It's a complex and evolving landscape.
Okay, I can see both sides of that coin. Before we dive into the potential benefits and challenges of Bitcoin on a larger scale, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore the potential impact of Bitcoin on the future of finance and technology. Stay tuned. We're back and ready to explore the bigger picture. Before the break, we were talking about Bitcoin's potential to disrupt traditional financial systems.
Right.
I have to admit, I'm both fascinated and a little intimidated by the possibilities.
It's certainly a topic that sparks a lot of debate.
Yeah.
Some view Bitcoin as a revolutionary force that could democratize finance,
Right.
while others see it as a speculative bubble with inherent risks.
Right.
So let's unpack some of those potential benefits and challenges.
All right, let's start with the positive side. What are some of the ways Bitcoin could potentially benefit the world?
One of the most compelling arguments is increased financial accessibility.
Okay.
Bitcoin has the potential to empower individuals who are currently excluded from traditional financial systems,
Right.
such as those in developing countries or those without access to banks.
So it could create a more level playing field, giving everyone the opportunity to participate in the global economy.
Exactly. It could foster greater financial inclusion
Yeah.
and potentially reduce economic inequality.
Okay.
Another key benefit is lower transaction costs. Bitcoin transactions can be significantly cheaper than traditional methods, especially for cross-border payments, which often come with hefty fees.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Businesses operating globally could save a lot of money and streamline their operations using Bitcoin.
Right.
Are there any other potential upsides?
Bitcoin's decentralized nature also brings advantages.
Okay.
Because it operates independently of any government or central authority,
Right.
it can be a hedge against inflation and economic instability.
No.
It's also resistant to censorship, meaning that transactions cannot be blocked or controlled by third parties.
So it's like having a form of money that's beyond the reach of governments and institutions.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
But what about the other side of the coin?
Sure.
What are some of the challenges and concerns surrounding Bitcoin?
Well, volatility is definitely a key concern, as we've already discussed.
Right.
Bitcoin's price can be highly unpredictable, which can deter some individuals and businesses from adopting it.
Right.
Another challenge is scalability. The current Bitcoin network can only process a limited number of transactions per second,
Okay.
which could pose a bottleneck if adoption grows significantly.
So if everyone starts using Bitcoin, the network could get overloaded and slow down.
It's a possibility. However, developers are actively working on solutions to improve scalability, such as the Lightning Network,
Okay.
which allows for faster and cheaper transactions off-chain.
Okay.
It's an ongoing area of development.
So it's work in progress, but there's hope for the future.
Exactly.
What about the regulatory landscape? Governments around the world seem to be taking different approaches to Bitcoin.
Regulation is one of the biggest uncertainties facing the crypto industry.
Right.
Some countries are embracing Bitcoin, while others are taking a more cautious or even hostile approach.
Interesting.
It's a complex and evolving landscape that could significantly impact Bitcoin's adoption and future.
So it's still a bit of a wild west out there, regulatory-wise.
Yeah.
What about the environmental impact of Bitcoin? I've heard concerns about the energy consumption associated with mining.
That's a valid concern. The process of mining Bitcoin requires significant computing power, which translates into high energy consumption.
Right.
However, it's important to note that the Bitcoin mining industry is increasingly adopting renewable energy sources
Okay.
and exploring more energy-efficient mining methods.
So it's not a perfect system, but there's a growing awareness of the environmental impact,
Right.
and efforts are being made to mitigate it.
Exactly. It's an alluring landscape, and sustainability is becoming a key focus for the Bitcoin community.
Okay, so we've explored both the potential benefits and challenges of Bitcoin.
Right.
It seems like this technology has the power to both revolutionize and disrupt traditional systems. It's both exciting and a bit daunting.
Exactly. Bitcoin represents a paradigm shift in how we think about money and finance. It's a fascinating experiment with far-reaching implications that are still unfolding.
It definitely feels like we're on the cusp of something big. It's been a whirlwind journey exploring the world of Bitcoin. I've gone from feeling like a complete novice to having a solid grasp of the fundamentals
Great.
and even a glimpse into the potential future.
I'm glad to hear that.
I started with a stack of articles and research, feeling a bit lost, but now I feel empowered to continue exploring the world of Bitcoin on my own.
That's great.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Bitcoin. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and perhaps sparked your own curiosity to learn more.
Yes.
Remember, the world of Bitcoin is vast and full of possibilities. Stay curious, stay informed, and who knows, maybe you'll be part of shaping the future of finance.